From a train operator making a huge mistake to an entire city struggling to grasp how railways function, we've compiled some of the craziest train moments ever caught on camera. The Churchgate train station is a very busy station. In fact, it's one of the busiest railway hubs in Mumbai, India. Almost immediately after one train departs, another arrives. With the millions of people in India, it's one of the cheaper ways of transportation, and it's used by millions to get to and from work. Chaos would be the only result if something were to happen to this train station. On June 28, 2015, something terrible did happen. A train flew into the station at about 20 miles per hour because a particular someone forgot to hit the brakes. The train sped past its stopping point, crashing deep into the station and stopping just a few feet before a coffee stand. The accident was captured on CCTV cameras at the station. The train entered the station with everyone minding their business, but as soon as the danger became apparent, people moved away from the tracks. After the crash, the passengers got out carefully, and thankfully, very few people were injured, and those who were had only minor injuries. Officials explained that the accident could have been much worse than it was. They further explained that had the accident happened on any other day than Sunday, there could have been possible casualties, as the station would have been really busy. Officials also predicted that failure to apply the brakes was the likely cause of the accident, but that was just speculation. Something else could have happened. The accident caused them to divert trains away from the platform. A total of 40 trains were diverted until the damages were repaired. Balasore is a city in Odisha, India. It's located on the eastern coast of the country, along the Bay of Bengal. The city lies in the northern part of Odisha, close to the border with West Bengal. This drone footage shows the full extent of the devastating train crash that happened in this location. At least 10 carriages derailed off the track, with some falling onto their sides. A peculiar area of the crash shows multiple carriages stacked on top of one another. The night after the crash, rescuers were faced with a chaotic operation. They climbed on the wrecked trains, trying to break open the doors and windows using cutting tools. A lot of people, hundreds, were trapped under the twisted metal and broken glass. But the rescuers remained adamant, and eventually they were able to get them out. The Polish capital of Warsaw has been through a lot in the past century. The capital was destroyed in World War II after Adolf Hitler ordered the German army to destroy the entire city. After World War II, over 85% of the town had to be rebuilt. Today, it is a thriving metro home to about 1.8 million people, with technology more advanced than most of the world. Though they were able to rebuild their city in a matter of years, it took a bit longer for them to figure out how to build their railroads. Simply put, 2012 was a bad year to be on a Polish train. On May 23, 2013, something truly appalling happened. 2 passenger trains wound up on the same track. That's not all, though. These trains were not even going in the same direction. The train that holds the camera we are watching spots the other train ahead and immediately applies his brakes. He applied them on time, so he came to a stop quite early. But the other train kept coming. It seems the other train driver wasn't smart enough to also apply his brakes at the right time. The camera captured a head-on collision, leaving a huge crack in the windshield. The crazy part is that this crash happened just a few months after an earlier head-on collision, leading to eyebrows being raised about the safety of Polish railways back then. If it had been only one crash, it wouldn't have been an issue. But 2 crashes within the same year just proved something was totally wrong with the system. It was so bad that the European Railway Agency said Poland had the most dangerous railroads in the world, with 449 accidents in 2010 alone. Cambodian city of Battambang is the third largest city in the country. It's infamous for its French colonial architecture, a place that reminds people of history. Life here seems to take a more relaxed pace, blending the charm of rural living with the ease of city conveniences. The story that happened here, though, is meant to teach us a very important lesson about impatience. The following footage shows this truck and train accident from multiple angles. The first footage shows a truck speeding toward a train crossing somewhere in the Cambodian countryside. In the video, you notice the truck pick up speed in an attempt to beat the train. The truck driver ignored the rail worker who was waving a warning flag. It seems the truck driver had more important things to do because he didn't stop. He almost made it past the track, but at the very last second, the train came into contact with the rear end of his truck, sending both vehicles crashing. Here's the same incident from another angle. This view gives us a better perspective. Fortunately, the vehicles and pedestrians nearby avoided getting hit by debris from the crash. The aftermath of the accident was quite shocking. Both the truck and the train were flipped onto their sides. It's quite surprising that the truck could derail the train. Rescuers and officials arrived on the scene, all appalled by the incident. They didn't know where to begin or what to ask. They were just lost for words. As the camera pans around, you can notice fluids leaking from the train cars. Every time I see this video, all I can think is that all of this could have been avoided if the driver had just been patient. All he had to do was wait a little. What's surprising is that the truck driver suffered only minor injuries after the accident. Though he avoided serious physical harm, he now faces medical issues and various legal consequences. On December 30th, 2013, a train derailment and huge oil spill occurred in Castleton, North Dakota. The incident involved a BNSF train, with one train transporting grain and the other carrying crude oil. This footage, released by the NTSB, shows the moment of impact. The first shot shows the crude oil train passing by. Initially, everything seems ordinary, but when you look ahead, you'll notice an obstruction on the track. A few moments later, the train smashes into it, flying off the tracks and sliding across the snow before coming to a stop. The accident caused about 476,000 gallons of crude oil to spill, and the oil later ignited. The damage was worth over $7 million. When an investigation was launched into the crash, investigators revealed that a damaged axle from the first train caused it to derail. Because the oil train's crew was on a different radio frequency, there was no way to warn them of the impending danger. Fortunately, there were no reports of injuries to residents or crew members of either train. This situation raised safety concerns about transporting dangerous materials by rail, leading the U.S. Department of Transportation to issue new regulations, including requirements for stronger tank cars and improved braking systems. It's no lie that trams make life much easier, especially when you live in a very busy city. The only issue here is that they have to coexist with cars, and the systems in place for trams and intersections are in no way good enough. On April 9, 2012, a driver was heading toward a large intersection when something jaw-dropping happened. Let's be thankful he looked right in time. With no notice, a speeding tram moved across the intersection, smashing through the cars just in front of our driver's car. People quickly rushed over to inspect the scene and control the traffic. From their reactions alone, it was quite obvious that the tram hit more cars off camera. The story revealed after inspection goes like this. The driver was having some engine issues. The tram wasn't starting, and he was getting upset. The driver accidentally electrocuted himself while inspecting the engine, and the tram began moving on its own. The only reason it stopped was because of the large number of cars it had hit on the road. Thankfully, everyone at the intersection was okay. They were quite lucky because the tram didn't only hit their trunks. Littlehampton is a seaside resort town in West Sussex, England. It's situated on the English Channel, about 50 miles south of London. Most of England is connected by railways and subways. It's the cheapest and fastest means of land transportation, so it's quite popular among the English folk. On February 21st, 2023, two guys decided to take life by the horns. Grabbing their moped, they tested their fate. Unknown to them, a speeding train was on its way. There were just too many obvious indicators of an incoming train. The loud sound of the train, the flashing lights, and the descending crossing arms. What else could have been used to tell them about the incoming train? These warriors ignored the signs and crossed the railroad. They narrowly avoided a terrible accident. It's widely known that when the lights begin flashing, the crossing arms descend, and the loud horn of the train is heard. These are indications that only point to one thing: a train is about to pass. This clip is the CCTV footage of the near accident. The pedestrian is completely stunned by the next events. The train is already approaching, and all the signs have been displayed. The moped comes around the bend, changes lanes, and zooms through the railroad. If they had crossed a second later, it would have been a tragedy. The pedestrian, confused, thought she had witnessed an accident. This event left the train driver frightened. After he got to his stop and explained what had happened, he mentioned that he had to make an emergency stop to compose himself after the near miss. Inspector Emma Bolton of British Transport called the incident the most reckless behavior at a level crossing she had seen in her entire career. Sabinal, Texas, is a small city in Uvalde County with a population of about 2,600 people. It's located about 61 miles west of San Antonio and has a small police department with a limited number of officers. On Christmas Eve, one of these few officers was driving around by the train tracks back in 2023. Her name was Officer Crystal. She noticed a car stuck on the train tracks at the intersection of North Hondo and North Front Street. When she looked closer, she could see there was a driver asleep behind the wheel. She then adjusted her vehicle to illuminate the car on the track and proceeded to investigate. Upon reaching the car, she found 42-year-old Ashley Sawyers. She wasn't asleep, but actually intoxicated and disoriented. According to Officer Crystal, talking to her was of no use, as she couldn't even form complete sentences anymore. Trying to explain that a train was coming was even more of a struggle. The officer tried calling the Union Pacific Railroad, but they couldn't stop the train. Thinking quickly, Officer Crystal pulled the door open and dragged Ashley out of the vehicle to safety. They were hidden behind a utility box when the train came and completely destroyed Ashley's car. During the crash, debris flew off, hitting Officer Crystal's knee. She ended up in the hospital and had to use a leg brace and crutches for multiple weeks. Ashley, on the other hand, was charged with a Class C liquor violation, though she claims she was suffering from an epileptic seizure that night, causing her to pass out and become disoriented. Notwithstanding the reason she passed out, she should be thankful Officer Crystal was patrolling that area at that time of night. Otherwise, the story today would have been completely different. Officer Crystal is indeed a hero without a cape.